The delicate chime of crystal champagne glasses filled the air as my stepmother, Diana, raised her third toast of the evening. To my darling husband's retirement, she announced, her designer gown shimmering beneath the ballroom lights, and to selling this tired old company for something far more exciting. I caught the subtle dip in my father's smile, the way his fingers tightened around his glass. Chen Manufacturing wasn't just a company, it was his life's work, built from nothing over 30 years. Yet here he was, at his own retirement party, listening to his trophy wife of 5 years plot its dismantling. And Diana wasn't done, her gaze locked onto me across the room, her lips curling into a smirk. Of course, some people thought they'd inherit the company, she said, her voice just loud enough to carry. Poor little Alexandra, imagining Daddy would hand over a multi-million-dollar business to someone who can't even keep a relationship longer than 6 months. The room fell into an awkward silence. Some guests shifted uncomfortably, while others suddenly found their drinks fascinating. My father said nothing, he never did. Diana, emboldened, pressed on. It's for the best, really. Running a company takes maturity, experience, and, let's be honest, a proper family image. She patted her perfectly flat stomach, a not-so-subtle reminder of her recent announcement that she was trying to give my father a real heir. Heat rose to my cheeks, but I kept my expression unreadable. Let her gloat, she had no idea what was coming. Diana's eyes gleamed with false sweetness. Would you like to say a few words, Alexandra? Maybe congratulate your father on his retirement and his very wise decision regarding the company's future? I stood slowly, smoothing my black blazer. At 28, I was young for a CFO, but I had earned every step of the climb. Not that Diana had ever bothered to notice, she assumed I was just another middle manager my father kept around out of guilt after my mother's death. Actually, I said, my voice calm and measured, I do have something to say. Diana leaned back, her smirk widening. She was expecting tears, pleading, maybe even a tantrum. Instead, I pulled a thick envelope from my briefcase. 6 months ago, I said, my voice carrying across the room, Chen Manufacturing underwent a quiet restructuring. The board approved it unanimously. Several board members exchanged glances, some nodding slightly. My father transferred majority ownership to a new holding company. Diana's smirk twitched. My father looked up, confusion flickering across his face. The holding company is called NLW Enterprises, I continued, savoring the moment. Named after Mary Louise Wong, my mother. Diana's champagne glass trembled in her hand. What are you talking about? She demanded. I stepped forward, laying out the documents on a nearby table. These papers confirm that I own 67% of Chen Manufacturing through NLW Enterprises. My father retains 30%. The remaining 3% is distributed among key employees. The room erupted, gasps, murmurs, the shuffle of expensive shoes on marble. Diana lurched forward, clawing at the documents, as if sheer desperation could erase them. This is impossible, she shrieked. James, tell her this is impossible. But my father, my silent, weary father, was smiling, really smiling. It's all legal, Diana, he said quietly. Alexandra earned this. She's been running the company for the last 2 years while I've been distracted. His eyes met mine, and for the first time in years, there was something close to pride in them. Diana, sputtering, turned an alarming shade of red beneath her flawless makeup. But, we had plans. The Hamptons house, the yacht club membership. About that. I pulled out another document. As majority owner, I've been reviewing company expenses, particularly the generous consulting fees funneled to your brother's fake marketing firm and those business trips that always seem to land at luxury spas. Diana went deathly pale. You wouldn't dare. I smiled. I already have. The board has approved a full audit. And the police? Well, they're very interested in some of the more creative accounting you and your brother arranged. James, Diana shrieked, her voice cracking. Are you really going to let her do this to me, your wife? For the first time in years, my father stood straighter, more resolute than I had ever seen him since my mother passed. My late wife, Mary, helped me build this company, he said, his tone firm. She made me promise that when the time came, it would go to our daughter. Alexandra has more than earned her place here. And you, he shook his head slowly, you proved yourself too, just not in the way you intended. Diana's world, carefully constructed and glittering with luxury, began to collapse around her. Her designer purse hit the floor as she scrambled for her phone, scattering its contents in all directions. Among them was a small USB drive, one I recognized all too well. It had disappeared from my father's office months ago, containing proprietary company designs. Looking for a buyer for our trade secrets? I asked coolly, picking up the drive. That might explain all those lunch meetings with our competitors. Diana's face twisted with fury. She raised her hand as if to strike me, but before she could, my father caught her wrist, his grip unwavering. Security will escort you out, I said calmly. Your personal belongings will be shipped to you once they've been checked for any other company property, of course. I flashed her a saccharine smile, mimicking her own false sweetness. And don't worry about the prenup, Diana, it's got a lovely clause about corporate espionage. As security escorted her out, her screams echoing through the lobby, the room buzzed with excitement. Board members congratulated me. Employees who had suffered under Diana's reign looked visibly relieved, and my father, he pulled me into a tight hug, his arms wrapping around me like they hadn't in years. I'm so sorry, Alex, he whispered, I've been such a fool. Your mother would be so proud of you. I squeezed him back, breathing in the familiar scent of his aftershave. I know, Dad, I know. But our moment of reconciliation was cut short by the ringing of my phone. Diana's brother, Marcus, our head of IT security, said urgently, we've caught him trying to delete files from the company servers. This is just the beginning, I'm afraid. I glanced down at the old wedding ring hanging from the chain around my neck, my mother's ring. It was the only thing I had left of her. Ready for this, Dad? I asked, my voice steady. He gave my shoulder a firm squeeze. Lead the way, CEO. As we headed toward the elevator, Diana's shriek still rang out from the lobby, but I didn't flinch. I had learned from the best, my mother's sharp business instincts, my father's relentless innovation, and yes, even Diana's ruthless ambition. All of them had taught me invaluable lessons. Now it was time to show them exactly what those lessons had created. The morning after the retirement party, I arrived at Chen Manufacturing earlier than usual. The sun hadn't even risen, yet I found my father already in his office, sorting through years of memories. Couldn't sleep either? I asked, helping him pack a framed photo of him and Mom at the company's grand opening. Been thinking about your mother, he said softly. She always said you had her instincts. Watch out for that girl, she used to tell me. She'll outshine us both someday. Before I could reply, my phone buzzed. It was Marcus. Miss Chen, we have a situation. Multiple attempts to access our servers from unauthorized locations, and you need to see this. Minutes later, I was staring at my computer screen in disbelief. Someone had leaked confidential company emails to our top competitors, but these weren't just any emails. They'd been carefully selected to make it look like Chen Manufacturing was involved in corporate espionage. Diana, I muttered under my breath, she's trying to trigger an industry-wide investigation. That's not all, Marcus added, his voice grim. She's also planted evidence suggesting your takeover was illegal. The press is already picking it up. At that moment, my phone exploded with notifications. Tech heiress in hostile takeover scandal, one headline blared. Family drama threatens industry giant, another screamed. My father's face went pale, his eyes wide with disbelief. Alex. I'm so sorry, if I hadn't brought Diana into our lives. No, Dad, I interrupted, my tone sharp. This isn't your fault, but I know whose fault it is. I pressed the intercom button. Janet, call an emergency board meeting, and get me Victoria Chen on the line. My father blinked. Your cousin, the federal prosecutor? I smiled grimly. Diana wanted to play dirty. It's time to show her what that really means. The next few hours were pure chaos. Diana had already gone on a morning news show, playing the part of the wronged wife to perfection. I just want to protect my husband's legacy, she said tearfully. Alexander's hostile takeover has devastated him, and now, with these allegations of corporate espionage. But Diana had made one crucial mistake. In her desperate attempt to destroy me, she'd used the stolen USB drive to access the company files, leaving a clear digital trail. We've got her, Marcus announced triumphantly. Every unauthorized access, every leaked document, it's all here. It all traced back to her brother's IP address. Marcus leaned back in his chair, a satisfied grin spreading across his face. We found something else, emails between Diana and our biggest competitor, dating back months before she even married your father. The pieces clicked together like the final turn of a lock. She targeted Dad from the beginning, I murmured. The whole marriage was a corporate raid. The oldest trick in the book. Dad said quietly, and I fell for it completely. Just then, my cousin Victoria called back. Her voice was sharp and measured, but beneath it, I could hear the gears turning. You know, she said after a pause, we've been investigating Diana's brother's firm for months, tax fraud, money laundering, but we could never prove where the money was coming from. This could be exactly what we need. Then take it, I said, use everything. The very next day, as Diana prepared for another TV interview to slander me, federal agents raided her brother's office. By evening, both siblings were in custody, and the truth splashed across every business news channel. Corporate heiress unmasks CEO's wife in manufacturing espionage scandal. Family feud exposes years-long corporate conspiracy. Young CEO saves family empire from hidden takeover. But the real satisfaction came when Victoria called with the final twist. The prenup violation was just the tip of the iceberg, she said. The federal investigation uncovered offshore accounts, shell companies, and a pattern of targeting wealthy business owners for marriage scams. I exhaled sharply. How many? 7, she replied. 7 other victims, all wealthy men, all with valuable companies. You and your father were supposed to be number 8. Diana and her brother weren't just frauds, they were professionals. In the end, they faced federal charges for corporate espionage, fraud, and money laundering. The evidence was overwhelming. But before Diana was led away in handcuffs, I visited her in custody. She sat across from me, her designer outfit replaced by an orange jumpsuit, her manicured hands gripping the table. How? She demanded, her voice thick with fury. How did you know what I was planning? I reached into my blazer pocket and pulled out an old photograph, my mother, at my age, standing proudly in front of Chen Manufacturing's first office. Because my mother dealt with people like you all the time, I said simply. She taught me how to spot the vultures circling our company. That's why she made Dad promise to train me properly, to protect what she built. I leaned in, lowering my voice. You never had a chance, Diana. You were playing checkers. I was playing chess. 3 months later, Chen Manufacturing was stronger than ever. Our stock had soared after the scandal, clients admiring how we had handled the crisis. Dad was truly retired now, traveling the world and sending me postcards from places Mom had always wanted to visit. As for me, I stood in my office, the CEO's office, hanging my mother's photograph in its rightful place. Next to it, a new framed article. Innovation and Leadership, Alexandra Chen named youngest CEO of the year. But my favorite moment came at a charity gala when I overheard 2 society women whispering over their champagne. Did you hear about James Chen's daughter? One said, the one who exposed that gold digger conspiracy? They say she's twice as brilliant as her mother was, the other replied, lowering her voice, and 3 times as ruthless when crossed. I smiled, brushing my fingers over the ring I wore around my neck, Mom's wedding ring. They had no idea. The best revenge isn't serving it cold. It's building something so strong no one dares to try destroying it again. That evening, as I looked out over the city skyline, my phone rang. Dad, calling from Greece. Your mother would be so proud, he said, his voice thick with emotion, not just of the company, but of who you've become. I watched the city lights flicker below, thinking of all the battles fought, all the lessons learned. I learned from the best, I told him, both of you. Because in the end, legacy isn't just about wealth or power. It's about the strength to protect what matters, the wisdom to see through deception, and the courage to fight for what's yours. Diana had wanted to play games with our company. Instead, she helped forge exactly the CEO Chen Manufacturing needed, one who could see a threat from a mile away and handle it with a perfect mix of grace and steel. Just like Mom would have done.